A very pleasant good afternoon to all. Permit me to acknowledge the presence of Your Excellency Sir Edmund Lawrence, the Right Honourable Dr. Denzil Douglas, Prime Minister and Parliamentary Representative for this area, the Honourable Earl Asim Martin, our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister with Responsibility for Public Works, the Honourable Richard Skerritt, our Minister of Tourism, International Trade, etc. Our former ministers, Herbert and Liburd, particularly Minister Herbert, who was one of the persons on this particular journey, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mr. Calvin Edwards, the Deputy Financial Secretary, other permanent secretaries, Mr. Brian Greene and Ms. Sita Farrell, the U.S. Embassy and U.S. Aid, Dr. Martin Baptiste and Mr. Stephen Lawrence of the Caribbean Development Bank, members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the Child Development Project Steering Committee, members of the Probation and Child Welfare Board, the members of the OECS Justice Steering Committee, other members of staff of the Ministry of Social and Community Development, and I see quite a number of our directors here, Stephen and Associates, contractors, other members of the head table, Mr. Archibald and Mr. Peter Jenkins, the staff of the center, we have quite a number of them here, invited guests, the members of the Sadlers, Bellevue, and Harris's communities and other surrounding communities, members of the media. I extend a heartwarming welcome to all of you as we launch another bright spot for us here in St. Kitts and Nevis. There's a Chinese proverb that says, I don't know if Ambassador knows it, to get through the hardest journey, we need to take one step at a time, but we must keep stepping. We in the ministry have kept stepping beyond numerous obstacles and challenges, beyond the interrogations of the Prime Minister and the Cabinet colleagues as to when this project would reach where it is today. Finally, we are here. Ladies and gentlemen, we have completed one of the major steps on this arduous journey. It is the completion of the new Horizons Rehabilitation Center. Designed to house 20 residents, 20 males and 10 females, it stands here before us as a beacon of hope for the children and young persons in our communities. Today marks the beginning of the end of the practice of incarcerating our young persons or juveniles who offend the law. Let us therefore pause and give ourselves a round of applause for reaching thus far in the journey of reform of our juvenile justice system. A foundation step was taken in 2002 under the leadership of Ambassador Roslyn Hazel, the then Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Social and Community Development. Ambassador Hazel played an instrumental role in inviting new partnerships to the table to formulate a holistic proposal to address issues pertaining to children under 18 years of age. Some 3 years later, a second major step was taken. On 17 May 2005, the Child Development Project Loan Agreement between the Caribbean Development Bank and the Government of St. Kitts and Nevis was signed. This action concretized the overarching commitment of the Government of St. Kitts and Nevis to bring together our very own local and regional experts, shifting the focus to a preventive intervention model, specifically addressing the rehabilitation and reintegration of our children into their homes and communities. The Child Development Project comprised 1. Technical assistance for the training of teachers, parents, guidance counselors, social workers, probation officers, child protection officers, and members of the judiciary. 2. The civil works, the construction of the rehabilitation center. 3. institutional strengthening in various areas, including the development of diagnostic kits for assessment of children for behavioral and learning difficulties, a design for the enhancement of a management information system, a review of the foster care program, a reactivation of the Probation and Child Welfare Board, and the preparation of an institutional and operational framework for the staff of the center. And so, every step made on this journey so far has been designed to prepare each stakeholder group for working together for effective coordination and collaboration. I must emphasize that this beautiful building standing before us today is one in a series of many steps made toward enhancing the capacity of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis to improve the status and well-being of our children by supporting programs of early detection of deviant or antisocial behavior and providing creative remedies for behavioral difficulties, including the provision of rehabilitative care for those who become in conflict with the law, as opposed to focusing on punitive measures. Today's official opening is a defining moment for all of our partners, policymakers, social workers, the police, families, and communities, as we undertake the critically important task of effecting attitudinal changes in our children, our families, and our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a collective responsibility. We all have to become advocates of young people and commit to reshaping a positive future for our children who run afoul of the law. Hence, today signals not the end, but the continuation of this journey. In pressing forward with a more robust strategy, I wish to highlight 4 key necessary ingredients to drive the successful implementation of the work to be undertaken at this center. First of all, effective coordination. All of the stakeholders, the staff, the Probation and Child Welfare Board, Attorney General's chambers, the judicial officers, families, non-governmental organizations, and community-based organizations, and our regional and international partners are all an integral part of the way forward. As such, we must commit to doing what is in the best interests of our children. We are duty-bound to always ensure that we remain true to our children by helping them to re-enter our families and communities without stigma or discrimination, while bringing systematic reform to our juvenile justice programs. Secondly, compassion. Our emotions have all been stirred by the violent behavior of our young people towards each other. We have collectively felt the pain, the tragedy, and loss of our children and young people. There is much debate as to the underlying causes of this violent behavior. Broken families, low levels of education, poverty, drugs, and materialism are among the causes canvassed. What we know for sure is that very often they face discrimination and are stigmatized by their communities, and very few persons pay due attention to their situation and circumstances. We all have to commit to showing compassion and to invest in second chance opportunities for them. It is in the best interest of all of us to extend a hand to help them pick themselves up. Client focus. The treatment plan has to be tailored to the needs of the children or at-risk youth. Very often, it is easy for persons to recommend a solution for a child's deviant behavior without analyzing the root cause. We have to ensure that the enabling environment of this center facilitates strategies that will ensure the rehabilitation of our children, their preparation for the world of work and for life in general, and their re-entry into their families and their communities. And fourthly, family focus. The family is critical to the treatment plan. A nurturing and supportive family is the most important ingredient in the process. I firmly believe in strong families. Many among us here today are products of strong families, strong in terms of emotional support as opposed to wealth. At the core of our ministry's activities is the mantra, stronger families, safer communities. I urge the staff of this ministry to keep this mantra in the forefront of every activity undertaken. I must warn you, however, that achieving the results we hope to see will not be a quick fix. It is not an easy journey, as we have to organize ourselves in different ways, broaden our understanding of working with each other, show greater tolerance, patience, and love while leaving revenge to God, learn from each other, and transform our mistakes into success. In the words of Singing Jackie, turning our scars into stars. Let me assure you that we will be bold, positive, collaborative, and creative in this venture. We in St. Kitts and Nevis will make the new Horizons Rehabilitation Center a best practice in the OECS and in the region, bringing rehabilitation, counseling, education, sports, and life skills all together to the benefit of our children at risk. Along this journey, we partnered with the Caribbean Development Bank, USAID, and the OECS Juvenile Justice Reform Project. The technical guidance and the tough questions posed have provided invaluable lessons in helping us to reach this point. We are greatly appreciative of the solid support to juvenile justice reform by the U.S. government. Your contribution of equipment for the center made the world of difference. We are eternally grateful. I must also register my sincerest thanks to those who began shepherding this project before I assumed responsibility for this ministry in 2010. We at the ministry have been guided by your input and insight. I must commend Permanent Secretary Sharon Rattan and Mr. Raphael Archibald for their perseverance and persistence in seeing to the completion of this phase of the project. In closing, there is urgent work to be done, and I remain confident that we will continue making steps together on this journey in the best interest of our children, our families, and our communities. Thanks for your attention and your indulgence.